we're all socially distanced, it's nice to see actual people's faces. Someone said to me they thought I only existed online, like I'm a living meme of myself, which has been said about me in the past, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I am actually human. Am I shorter than you thought?
Same height.
Same height. That's the envision, right?
Yeah.
Funny, had I walked in, I would have been like 5'2" or something. Would have been different, but maybe me sitting down was actually my full height. Okay. Hi everyone. Today's discussion, and I'm happy to open up to thoughts and questions on this. With Corona, I've had a lot of time to think. I've brought a lot of topics and ideas down. But this is something that means a lot to myself and hopefully a lot of people who are here and watching online. The topic is wherever you're going, that's where you are. There's a very interesting Gemara in Ta'anit, which I spoke about Gemara a lot in another context, because as people who know me know, I love comedy and humor, especially British humor. I was just actually telling my friend Ronan and Phil before class. Oh, was it? No, it wasn't Phil. Somebody else was standing next to him. Was he him? Yeah. Who was that? Who was it, Ronan? Who was he? What's the difference between British humor and American humor?
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm. I have to be very careful with this because I have very British humor. Phil, it's different, right? British humor and American humor. British humor is very sarcastic and very, I'm saying in American humor you've got to be very, very careful. So Charlie Chaplin, who was British, Charlie Chaplin, you've heard of Charlie Chaplin, and he moved to America, and someone asked him this question: what's the difference between British humor and American humor? So I'll tell you the difference. You see, when I make a movie in America, it's very simple. I have a guy with his top hat and his suit, and he looks amazing. And he's walking down the street, and he hits a banana peel, and he falls down. And everyone laughs. Everyone laughs at that. It's very simple. That's all I need to do. I need a guy looking good. The camera looks at him, banana peel, looks at him, banana peel. He hits the banana peel, falls down, everyone's laughing at his misery. That, a tramp, and a young, beautiful girl, that's every movie. He said, but in Britain, it's not that simple. In Britain, I got myself a very handsome guy with a hat and a coat, and the banana peel's on the floor. And the camera goes from man, banana peel, man, banana peel. But the man sees the banana peel, steps over it, and falls in a manhole. He says, that's how far you need to go to get British humor working, he said. The Gemara talks about laughter. And the Gemara talks about Rabbi Baroka, if I remember correctly. And Rabbi Baroka says the Gemara was walking through the town. And he saw, don't ask me how, Elijah the prophet. Eliyahu Navi, you should know, by the way, as a side point, that seeing Elijah the prophet is fairly common. I know people who have actually experienced Elijah the prophet. I mean, they think they have, the description, but if you ask them, they're like, absolutely. Because Eliyahu Navi comes down to visit earth. We know at your Pesach Seder he comes. We know at a Brit Milah. But it could be that right now, this could be Elijah the prophet just walked in to see us. You just don't know. Right? He takes on the guise of humans. There's a story in my family that my grandfather, Alav Shalom, who I never really got to meet, but the story goes that he was in a field and some man popped up, had a conversation, he turned around, he'd gone. And there's no way he could have just walked away. And he gave him some very interesting information. Actually, if you want to know what the information was, he says that your wife, who hadn't given birth in 30 years, is going to have a baby girl soon. So and it happened, so, Okay, it's going to sound weird, but seeing Elijah the prophet is not considered one of the greatest revelations to have. There's actually higher revelations in Jewish thought, as a side point. Right? It could be that many of you actually experienced Eliyahu Navi in your lives. Anyway, so this great Rabbi Reb Baruch walks through the marketplace, and he sees Elijah the prophet, and he is at the level. He knows it's Eliyahu Navi. He knows it's Elijah the prophet. And he walks over to him, and what would you ask Elijah the prophet? If you could ask any question, what would you ask him?
Where have you been?
Where have you been? Well, he could answer, I've been everywhere. What else would you ask him? Just interest, not through this talk, just interests me.
What is my purpose
What's my purpose in life? That's good. Me, I'd ask for the lottery numbers, but that's just me, right? 'Cause I got so many bills now, Baruch Hashem, laying around. What's my purpose in life? That's good. Very, very good. He said to him, who in this marketplace is the Ben Olam Haba? That's what he said to him. Who is destined to go to the next world? That's a weird question because everyone is. Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek l'olam haba. So you have to understand what the depth of this question was. But leaving aside the question for a minute, the answer is even stranger. He points at two people and says, those two guys, they are b'nei olam haba. So he wants to go over and say, what is that? They go to the next world. Let's go meet them. What are they? Are they doctors? Very possibly. Are they lawyers? Unlikely. I'm joking. Don't get offended. Take it easy, everyone. Don't start sending me emails and complaints. I don't want to hear it. I am joking. British humor. Relax. Lawyers go to Olam Haba. Actually, doctors get into Olam Haba is a bit difficult, actually, the Gemara says, but that's another question. That's a Gemara. So he walks over to them. He says, what do you guys do? Do you know what they say they are? Do you know what They're comedians. They're comedians, that's right. They tell jokes. We tell jokes for a living. Imagine that. We see people are depressed. We see they're upset. We go to visit them in hospitals when they're sick or at home. And we walk over to them and we cheer them up and they flip us a coin. We make a living that way. That is who he pointed at. He didn't point at the Rosh Hashiva. He didn't point at the people who are honest in business, which is all very good. He didn't point at the rabbi of the community, maybe for obvious reasons. He said these two guys that cheer people up are Ben Olam Haba. What does that mean, Ben Olam Haba? What do you mean they're in Olam Haba? Or they're going to Olam Haba? They're here. What does it even mean? Say who's a tzaddik, who's a rasha, right? Who's a nice girl, right? Who's not a good person. What is this whole Ben Olam Haba? What does that mean? You can be in Olam Haba, a Ben Olam Haba, while you're here right now. And let's wrap on this for just a few minutes and let's try to get our heads into this because we all want to be spiritual people. We all want to know our mission in life. We want to do the right thing. We're all trying to do it. It's very, very difficult. We all make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We do the wrong thing. We say the wrong thing. And yet we want to be good, right? This amazing idea. The answer is wherever you're going, that's where you are. Okay? And I really mean that. There's an interesting story about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was running away from his twin brother. Right? Yaakov was running away from Esav, who wanted to kill him. So what did he do? He went to flee. His mother says, get out of town. And he went. On the way, he stopped at Har Habayit, the future home of the temple. At this point, there's no temple in Jerusalem. But he knew this mountain was special because his grandfather Abraham brought his father Yitzchak as a potential korban on this mountain. So he knew it was special. You know the story. And he went to this mountain. What did he do? He went shlufi. He fell asleep. By the way, we're not usually told people fall asleep. The fact that he slept was a big deal, right? The fact that he went to sleep was a big, big deal. And it was a big deal. Because he hasn't slept in 14 years, whatever that means. That means he hadn't really had a good night's rest. You know? Which we've all been getting. A lot, right? You know? Have you been sleep? Have your dreams been really weird over the past few months with Corona? Anyone experienced this? Still to this day, I'm still getting intense dreams. Something's going on over here. Maybe it's to do with, that dreams are a 60th of Nevuah. Something's going on, by the way. Side point. So Yaakov has a dream, and there's a sulam, there's a ladder. Why it's a ladder and not steps, and not an elevator, or a rope is another question. But it's a ladder, and on it there's angels going up and down. Remember the story? Olim v'yordim. And the commentators, including Rashi, asks, what do you mean the angels going up and down? They should be going down and up. Where are the angels? In Shemayim. So why are the angels going up and then down? Anyone know the answer to that question? Why are the angels going
that
up and
completed
down?
their tests and angels that were joining our world to begin their tests.
Right. But why do we have different angels? You're absolutely right, there are different tasks. But why do you need a change of guard? Why can't it just be the same angels? So Rashi gives the answer to this. So Rashi's puzzled by this too. And he says something unbelievable, which in and of itself is another whole discussion, but it's worth just hearing this one idea. he says, because there's different angels inside of Israel and outside of Israel. Imagine that. You heard that before. Have you heard that? Is that wild? There's different malachim. There's angels in Israel, the Israeli ones. Yalla, what's going on? Akol beseder? Yalla, Simga. Okay, everybody. You go on mountain. You want taxi? I give you taxi. Hey, Uri, give me falafel. Yaakov Lee. Israeli angels. And then we have the French, Russian, English angels. See? So the angels who are going up were the angels who were leaving him. Because they have to get out. Because he's about to leave Israel. And the angels who are coming down were the Chutz La'aretz. That's what Rashi says. Many others say it too. Were the Chutz La'aretz angels, the angels who are outside, who needed to take over. Like, we'll take over from here. Yalla, not my problem anymore. You go. You know? It's like flying halal, you know? Not my problem. You take it now. There's only one problem with that. What's the problem with that answer? What's the problem with that answer? I've given you all the information you need to pick up on the problem. Think about the location. Where was Yaakov when he had this dream?
They're in Israel.
He's in Israel. Where in Israel?
He's in the most holiest place of Israel.
Holiest place, but where is that, geographically speaking? Is that which is in Jerusalem? Where's Jerusalem? Boop! In the middle of Israel. Like the belly button, right? It is literally the belly button of Eretz Yisrael, right? It's right there in the middle. Question is, therefore, it's not my question, I'm not that smart. What's the question?
As the angels,
Why are they leaving him now? If you want to tell me, which Rashi says, that they've got to get out of town because they're Israeli angels, then wait till he gets to the border. Wait till he gets to the edge. They're angels. They know where the border of Israel is. As soon as he gets to the border, like in this movie, you know the movies? You're like standing on the border and they move to the next state, they can't get arrested, and they can't get arrested. By the way, that's complete nonsense, by the way. But there is such as no jurisdiction. If they only have jurisdiction in Israel, why are they leaving now? He's still slap bang in the middle of Eretz Yisrael.
Maybe they file 67 politics.
I'm going to ignore that comment. All of Israel is Israel. Yeah.
Is it about the mindset?
Okay. So that's what we're going to have to get to. Obviously something's going on over here. That the angel said, we're leaving. We're leaving now. Although he's smack bang. He's on his way out. But he's still there.
It's mindset. It's mindset and motivation. Once the motivation is set on something, that's already.
Once your motivation is set on something, it's as in and we're going to see even Jewish law, it's as though you are there. It's a very weird idea. By the way, it's not. I always thought when I gave this talk, I've given this talk many, many times. I always thought it was the mindset, but someone pointed out to me, you got to take a step. You see, why at this point and not when he left his home was because he had nevuah, a prophecy that the Jewish people were going to go into galut, into exile, and that's what the vision of the angels really was all about. 4 angels, 4 exiles. Okay, so he represents Yaakov Avinu. Jacob is Mr. Galut, Mr. Exile. That's who he is. He's all about Jews living outside of Israel. That's why he's the third of the 3 Avot, right? Because Avram Avinu is the morning, the start of the Jewish people, right? Yitzchak is the middle, and Yaakov is the end. He's Mr. Nighttime, right? That's why his prophecy came to him at night. He had to be asleep in order to receive this. Because really all of Galut is like a dream or a bit of a nightmare in some cases. But he had to take that first step. It's a mindset, and that's what I always used to say, and someone pointed out, it's not enough. He got up, took a move, and that's where it came to him. So it is a mindset, and wherever your mind is, that's where you are, which is scary enough as it is, because our minds can be in crazy places. But according to Jewish law, that's where you are. Wherever you're going, that's where you are. We see that from Yaakov Avinu. I'll tell you a story which happened to me a number of years ago. I was in Israel. I studied and I lived in Israel for a number of times. And I was on an Egged bus. And this Egged bus, it was, I think it was Erev Shabbat, whatever it was, the AC wasn't working, which happens, and it was really hot. And the bus was full of a lot of Jews. And probably some non-Jews too. I didn't ask any questions. Has anyone been on a hot bus with a lot of Jews in Israel? It's not pleasant with no AC. And there was a murmur and complaints to the bus driver and bus driver in Israel. They're very happy to voice their opinions and tell everyone where to go. And it was a very, very difficult. I just remember it was a very uncomfortable journey. And some were sitting, some were standing. And let's be honest, some of the people standing should have been sitting. Some people sitting should have been, you know what I'm talking about. All right, we're in New York. We're in mini Israel Habital. So you've all been through this, New York specifically. Right, we've all been through this experience. But I'll never forget, there was a guy standing there, like holding onto the thing for dear life, being jostled around because we were in, Jerusalem traffic. Tuck, 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 moving around like a jelly. And he's moving around, and he's like this. Right? And he's moving around. And I'll be honest with you, he starts to irritate me. Because we're all schwitzing, irritated, angry, feeling nauseous. And there's this guy, and he's getting into a groove. Right? He's bopping around, right? And he's smiling. And he's humming, moving on to singing. It was a nice voice, but makar. Why couldn't it be miserable like the rest of us? So as you know, Israelis are, they're not shy people. They're not shy.
Good smokes.
What?
Good smokes, probably.
Good smokes.
Probably.
I don't know if he was high, but he definitely was happy. I can't judge him. He wasn't a Bresler. He wasn't wearing the yarmulke, by the way. He doesn't look like he was dancing at the cars 2 minutes before. He was a regular guy. Someone on the bus asked him, loudly for everyone to hear. Listen to what he said. And it never left me. He said in Hebrew, I'm going to a wedding. In Israel, I take the bus to the wedding, I said. And it's my niece's wedding. And she's been single for a long time. And we've all really, really wanted this girl to get married. And she's getting married. So I'm on my way to the wedding. You get it? In his mind, he was on a stuffy bus. In his mind, he's dancing with this niece of his that has been single for many, many years. And the simcha, which he wasn't anywhere near, right now he was in a stinky, horrible place, it was a good place to be. Because that was his destination. When you're moving towards a destination, which is the place you're meant to be going to, no matter how bad the circumstances are, it's just good. Someone told me an analogy for this. Imagine you get a phone call, that you won the lottery. Okay? You won $5 million. Actually, it's not enough nowadays. I used to sell this as 1 million, 5 million. Now it's got to be 20 million. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like when the lottery comes out, I always wonder. Like $2 million lottery ticket, no one's buying them anymore. Right? But 300 million, everyone goes to buy. What, $5 million is not enough for you? I never understood that. I don't get out of bed to buy a ticket less than 20 million, excuse me. Do you know who I am, So you get a phone call, $20 million lottery, you just won it. You get very excited. You want to cash in the ticket before everyone finds you and starts, calling you for money. So what do? You run, you get everything ready. As you run to the front door, your arm hits a vase, right, that you love. This vase you bought on vacation, cost you a lot of money, and you love this vase. And the arm hits, and it smashes into smithereens as you're running out the front door. Let's be honest. Are you going to stop, sit, and commiserate over this vase? No. You don't care. Why? You just won the lottery, but you haven't got the money yet. But I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the lottery. And if I'm on my way to the lottery, I'm there. So smashing a vase is not going to upset you because I've got a destination. I've got a vision where I'm going to be. And that place is awesome. So your entire life changed. I don't live my life like this, but I talk about it at least. Imagine living a life like that, where you know something great is coming, and I'm not there, I'm nowhere near. And right now I'm in Gehenna, but I'm able to celebrate now because that's where I am. Just a few more minutes, and then we'll take questions or thoughts or comments. There is actually a halachic, well, not halachic, but there's something we actually do during the year that actually represents this idea. And it's actually on Yom Kippur. Right? On Yom Kippur, we do something very unusual. Something we don't do the entire year. And I don't just mean fast, because we do fast the rest of the year, at least sometimes. What do we do on Yom Kippur, besides the fasting and the no leather shoes, that we don't do the entire year? Something we say differently.
Baruch Shem Kavod.
Baruch Shem Kavod Machato Le'Laved. We say that verse in the Shema loudly. Why do we not say it loudly the rest of the year? By the way, where's that verse even from? Anyone know? Anyone know where that comes from?
Isn't it because the angels say it?
Yeah. It's not anywhere in Scripture. Everything else we say is found in the Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim. But this one verse, it's not written anywhere. Not written anywhere. So where does it come from? So we have a tradition that there he is again, Jacob's children, before he died, says, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. At that point, Yisrael referred to him. Listen, Israel, I, you, Jacob, right? God is our God, God is one. And he responded according to tradition, not written down. Baruch Shem Kavod Machato Le'Laved. Many years later, when Moses went up to Mount Sinai, the Gemara tells us that he heard the Malachim, the angels, saying that verse. I don't know what that means, but the Malachim, the angels, saying those words. Baruch Shem Kavod Machato Le'Laved. I don't know who said it first. Jacob or the angels, whatever. But they hear, and what did Moshe? He's like, ooh, I like that. Baruch Shem Kavod Machato Le'Laved. Sounds familiar. I think Jacob said it. I like that a lot. What a beautiful verse. I'm going to bring it out to the Jewish people. I give them the Torah, and I give them that verse. Why didn't write it down in the Torah? Everything else was written down. Just say, Brother Moshe Rabbeinu, somewhere in scriptures. Because it was stolen goods. He stole it. He hijacked that verse. So he said, you know what? I can't make a big deal. And I'll give it to them, but I can't have the Jewish people go around saying, Baruch Shem Kavod, right? Because that's angelic words, whatever that means. So, you know what? When you say it during the year, whisper it really quietly. But on Yom Kippur, when we become angels, we don't eat. We don't drink. We don't wear leather shoes. We spend the entire day in tefillah and praying. We become like angels. Therefore, we have permission on that one day, and that one day only. When we say the words, we say it loudly because we're like angels, so we reach that level. And that's the Devar Torah. Very, very nice, beautiful, Dayin. There's a problem, though, with that. And it's a very similar problem to we've been having up to now. What was the problem with that whole thing? Oh, there's a problem with it. What's the problem? When do we say those words? As soon as Yom Kippur comes in, we say, if you mean like Kol Nidre, we say Arvit, and we say Baruch Shem Kavod, and we say it loudly. Excuse me, you haven't done anything. You just turned up. You've been eating the entire day because it's a mitzvah to eat Erev Yom Kippur, a mitzvah that my children and my wife and I are very makbid on. Stuffing your face, mitzvah all day. Actually, the fasting on the 9th of Tishrei is equal. The feasting on the 9th of Tishrei is equal to the fasting on the 10th of Tishrei. That's what the Gemara tells. It's a great thing. We're eating all day. You turn up in shul. You get your nice suit on. You get your new sneakers, right? Right? Because you can't just turn up and you got like my nice big fancy sneakers, right? And all shul, he's sitting there all full. Yeah, me. Spent the entire day. I've done it to Shuvah yet. Haven't repented. My stomach is full. Baruch Shem Kavod. What are you doing? Are you crazy? You've done it with an angel. The angels aren't sitting with their big bellies with sneakers on, sitting around. No. If you tell me at the end of Yom Kippur that I can hear. But you just don't. You didn't do anything yet. You just turned up. Said hello to your friends, right? Waved a little bit to whoever, and same answer. The rabbis tell us a beautiful thing. They say, that's okay. Although you're stuffed full, and you haven't even done teshuvah yet, that's where you're going. Since that's what you're going, that's where you are. Wherever your destination is, wherever your journey, it's as though you're there right now. At the end of Yom Kippur, when you spend a whole day starving yourself to Shuvah, but it's gone. It's gone. Once it's gone, it's finished. You're back to whispering it again. That's the halakhic proof of this concept. If you have a vision, a destination, then you can become a ben or bat olam haba. What does it mean these comedians were ben olam haba? What does it even mean? Everyone goes, it means that through their power of laughter, of schok, we have to talk about what laughter really means. There's another discussion, not for now. I've spoken about it before, we can talk about it again in the future. If you understand the idea of laughter, which is basically breaking down everything else. That's what makes something laugh. It's a juxtaposition of everything that you thought was this way, ends up that way. That's what a punchline is, isn't it? A punchline is the breaking down of everything else. So once you break something down, that thing doesn't exist. These people lived a life where they were so attached to Olam Haba, it's as though you're in it right now. That is the secret of being a Ben or Bat Olam Haba. As a side point, does anyone know what day is considered Olam Haba day? What day of the week? And there's your clue. It ain't Tuesday, I'll give you a hint. Is considered Olam Haba. Shabbat is Ben Olam Haba. That means we have the potential somehow to live in Shabbat and be in Olam Haba at the same time. Not completely, because we're not dead. But just a little bit, right? A 60th is the fraction the rabbis give us. Just a little piece of Olam Haba. Because when you're there, somehow you're there. And that's where you're going. So that's where you are right now. So though you're sitting around your table eating food and hanging out with and friends and singing, whatever you're doing on Shabbat, going to shul and shluffing, it makes no difference. If that's your destination, you're there right now. Okay. That's what I have to share with you this evening. I'll take thoughts, comments, questions on anything we discussed so far. Which means two things. Either you understand or not. So yes, hi there.
So I'm wondering about for people who may see a future that is bleak, but isn't happy.
Oh.
And then how does this idea of Jewish mindset of where you're
So
going
thank you,
impact
thank you for that. So the question was, it's a little muffled. I'll
Sorry,
repeat it.
no.
No. Keep the mask on. I'll repeat it. So what are people who see the future as bleak? That's the problem. You're not allowed to. I shouldn't say. You're not meant to. You're meant to see the future as Olam Haba. We're all on this journey, and we're going to a better place. You basically hit the nail on the head. Every Jew is meant to see we are the ultimate optimists. Although we're going through exile right now. Funny, this whole thing happened to Yaakov. It's a whole Jacob thing. Why Jacob? Why not Avram? Because Avram Avinu was like, woo! Everything's fantastic. Bringing Jews. He had many challenges and tests. But he was bringing Jews. Yaakov was Mr. Exile. So we attached to Yaakov. He's the one who came Yisrael, right? It wasn't Avram or Yitzchak. So we're not allowed to have that. It's tough. We're meant to see a bright future. We are the people who see the light at the end. And believe me, it's not been easy. I'm not talking about the past year. I'm talking about, 3,500 years of this. But that's what we're not meant to see. We always are optimists. This is it. We don't believe in a bleak future. We're the ultimate optimists at the face of everything else. That's true as a nation. And a nation is basically just a collection of individuals. So we're meant to have the same thing. It's going to be better. As my wife always says, what's that expression she said 1,000 times? I don't listen anymore. She said, it's good, it will be better. That's her one. That's the way she always says that. When we're all complaining and fetching about something. It's good. It's going to be better. That's her mantra. You can ask her, I'm not making it up. I'll give you her email if you want. She's not on social media. She's adverse to all that stuff. It's good. It's going to be better. And that's pretty much what we're saying. No bleak future. We've got to be optimistic.
Are you able to then say it's going to be bad for a while, but then get better?
So-
Like, life isn't always just.
You
like,
know, it's not always good. No,
oh,
it's
like, oh,
yeah. I hear you. No, it's sometimes it's miserable. I'm not saying you're meant to walk around like on drugs, high as a kite. I mean, that's another discussion. How we define what bad things are, right? There's a theory of Rabbi Akiva, which is everything God does is for the good, but right now I'm miserable. But Rabbi Akiva's rabbi, who I've spoken about before, Rabbi Nachum Ish Gamzu, actually was the opposite. His rabbi was greater than him, right? As every rabbi usually. And he actually saw all things as good. We're not at that level. I wish I was. We're like, I'm miserable, but it's going to be good. If you could just live like that, that's fantastic. I wish I could. I aspire sometimes. But even 1 out of 10 times, isn't that good? Worth it just for that, you know? Yeah.
So how should one frame a situation that is most people would perceive as negative? A death, something bad happening, losing money, whatever.
See, you're hitting a big topic.
How do you-
Now we're transferring to why bad things happen to good people. Or why bad
No,
things.
you sort of, you walk out of the house, maybe you don't know that you won the lottery, so you break the vase. How are you supposed to think about that vase that your great aunt gave you, whatever?
How not to focus on the I'm not there yet, but I've heard from people. And we all have.
How to objectively diagnose the reality in front of you, but to be able to reframe it in a way that's constructively positive, but at the same time not be living in the clouds.
Living the clouds doesn't seem to be the right way to be. You have to reframe. You hit the right. You got to reframe. You got to
So
reframe.
what words or how would you
Okay.
characterize?
You're hitting a bigger topic, which I'm not ready for in my head. I'll be honest with you. Which I do want to talk about in the future, but how to reframe challenging situations, that I can't speak to right now. But I will say, not as an individual, look at this as a nation. We see ourselves as Ben Olam Haba. We see ourselves as the people who are living in the future. We see ourselves as people who see the redemption coming to us as individuals and as a nation. If you can go through life that way, that every challenge that happens ultimately is for my good and it will be good. If you're able to reframe challenges that way, that every loss, every challenge, I mean, I've met such people. I'm not such a person, unfortunately, but I have met such people able to do that. I've met people who, I mean, what's one of the worst things? Chas v'shalom aleinu, losing a child, right? And such people, I've met them, and they'll talk to you how it was the worst thing that ever happened, but it changed them, and they're the most optimistic people I've ever met. How do they do it? You got to ask them. I mean, I've spoken to Holocaust survivors who lost their entire families. I mean, I've led 6 Holocaust trips. 3 of them with one, and he got out of there and he started his whole life again. I can't fathom it. I don't know how he did it, but I know he did because it was in front of my very eyes. Lost his parents, all his siblings except one brother, came over here, went through that, and just reframed his entire life, got married, had kids, and moved on. I don't know, but I do know it's possible. That I can tell you. I don't know, but I know it's possible. There are people who've done it, and I've met such people.
I have a question. I mean, to answer JRM. So I guess if you just not focusing on your life and comparing to other people, you see that other people has worse situation than you. You think, okay, it could have been worse. Any situation. So
Okay, I mean, that's a whole different idea of like, when we compare, I always say compare leads to despair, right? Many times we compare ourselves to other people. We live in such a society today for sure, which comes with its own challenges. Compare leads to despair. I hear. But he's asking something a little bit different in terms of how to reframe that broken vase into, I'm going somewhere good, and I don't, this won't break me. I mean, that's pretty much what you're getting at.
So it's about not focusing on the negative details of our life. It's kind of what it seems like.
It's not just not
There
focusing
might
on
be
it,
broken
it's,
vase, but there's something better to come. and
there's
it's
something
probably
better to come,
always-
and there's a lot more here. This didn't break by accident. And we're putting that into the equation as well. Nothing happens by coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Once you put that into the equation, it changes everything. I mean, that's a whole different discussion. But we as Jews believe that everything that happens, Hakol b'dei Shemayim, Chutz mi Yerushalayim. Everything's in the hands of heavens except how I relate to those events.
Well, the answer then is faith, right? If you don't know yet that you won the lottery. You know that you're heading out and you break your this priceless vase. You just have to have faith that there's a reason and you'll deal with it later, and you just have to have faith that there's
Yeah, the
something.
Hebrew word, I just cringe at the word faith, although I use it too. It's more bitachon, having trust in God that the future is going to be good. Faith is the same word actually, you're right? It's interchangeable at this point. But bitachon, not emunah, bitachon is I'm going to put my trust into God that it's going to be good. You've got to. You really have to. It's a muscle. It's so tough. It's really, really tough. It takes work. It's like you work a muscle to make it better. And by the way, to do it is when things are going well to work on it, so that when things go bad, you're ready for it. That's the real trick. The trick is when things are going well, to build up that faith, that bitachon muscle, trust, so that when things don't go good and that vase breaks, I know where I'm going and I know how to handle this.
But based off of what you're saying, would you never think of something as going bad or going good? Everything's just leading us from A to B.
Yeah. But there's still challenges that come to us. No one is ever going to say, well, maybe there are people who can. If you're in pain, you're in pain. It is what it is. Do we know stories of great people who danced in the Holocaust and told jokes? Yeah? I don't understand it, but I know they existed.
Viktor Frankl and
The meaning, right? Man search for meaning. His entire premise was on that. Actually, the only people, if you read that book, it's a very thin book, worth reading. It says the only people who really made it out were the people who really saw a future for themselves. People had faith that were able to get through that experience.
You know that movie, Life is Beautiful?
Yes.
You see that film?
Yeah.
You know, some people love that movie, and some people didn't. Did you like it, Phil?
I mean, I liked a lot of it. I mean, because I can relate to the idea of using your imagination.
Yeah.
Keep yourself happy.
That's what he does. Life is beautiful. He uses his imagination. I got a lot to say about that movie. When I watched it the first time, I didn't like it. I don't know what it was. But maybe since I've grown up, I get it
I
now.
think it's unpleasant just that the subject matter in a way was really poor taste.
Yeah.
With it. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to make a distinction at one point myself too. I have a lot of thoughts and ideas of things. Let's just say they're not necessarily grounded in proof or reality that they're going to happen, but they keep me excited.
They keep you going and excited. It's so
And
important.
at some point I noticed that's a good thing, but there's a tipping point where it becomes a distraction from reality. So I'm just questioning that myself. Like, if you have a lottery ticket or if you have a wedding someone's to go to, there's a degree of proof that that's actually happening, and all you have to do is kind of turn up. It's, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering in my head, like, at what point is it a delusional technique, and at what point is
So
it...
I will say one thing on this, and I'm sure everyone's got their own answers to this. At what point are you living in a delusional world? Right, a wedding's coming up, you know it's coming. Well, there's certain things in Jewish faith which are not delusional, and they're happening. As a people, right, they're Ikrei Emunah, they're principles of our faith, right? Mashiach is going to come. There's going to be a better world. These are, if you study Torah and the descriptions and know your stuff, that's coming. But as individuals within that journey, how to take that? The short answer is, for me, is that you don't know. Everyone needs an outside advisor to give them. I mean, right before I came out, I actually reached out to a good friend of mine, who's not been a rabbi, he's an insurance salesman, who, I'm not a particularly good one, but he's brilliant when it comes to giving advice, and he's got tremendous chachma. And I go to him, and I've got my calendar, I'll show you afterwards, that I'm going to have to go meet with him tomorrow. Because I'm dealing with stuff that I need an outside voice. As you need some, you cannot, the expression, you can't let yourself out of jail. Someone's got to open the key for you. So you don't know. No matter how smart you are, everyone needs someone to go to.
The other one is...
And that's, by the way, that's a real friend.
Oh, that's
A real friend, as I always say, is not someone's like, oh, you're fantastic. They're like, get it together. It's uncomfortable to hear it. I have one friend like that. I said, I did something amazing. He's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I'm so offended, because we're all snowflakes today. But I mean, you know what, you're right. He's got me used to people like coming at me and saying things to me, and I'm like, yeah, I accept that. I used to bristle And I'm like, I made a mistake, I apologize. Right?
So I don't know if we're gonna be able to answer this question because it's a little complex. So, you know, in biblical Judaism, we have a lot of people do something wrong, God intervenes,
Yeah.
and then they're on their way to journey to do something better. And then that cycle just keeps repeating itself.
Okay.
It happens with the Mabul, God destroys the world.
Okay,
Then you
I
have
get
the
the
building
analogy
the Bet
right
Mikdash,
now.
and then the rebuilding the Bet
Yeah.
Mikdash, and destruction of the Bet Mikdash
Yeah.
over, 1492 in Spain. So let's take the Holocaust out of the picture. So what among the modern rabbis of today
Yeah.
do they believe was the purpose of this year? Because this was the biggest turnaround
Yeah.
of modern times.
Yeah,
This is
this
the
year has
biggest
been-
change of events that has happened since World War II. There has not been a single event that has changed life.
All life. The amazing thing
All
about this
life.
thing, I've heard a lot on this and I've read a lot on it, I'll be honest, because I'm also fascinated by this. And people have asked this question in different forms, why this is happening. No one's got any clue. Right? There's no Nevi'im
And
nowadays.
I don't want to hear the answer to the Mashiach. Because
No. I'm not saying that. That was the talk I gave up to now.
Yeah.
Right now, I ask you right now, what is the lesson we're meant to learn from this? I have my opinions.
And I'm curious to know.
I'm going to give you my opinions.
Yes.
Right, but I've collected a lot of other opinions on this as well. One thing we know for sure is not a coincidence. To accept that.
Definitely not a
Right.
coincidence.
We also accept the fact that it's affected one event. It's weird, it's very rare. To see this has affected everyone in the entire world. We can all relate. There's so much unity that's come with this. Hasn't it unified us? Right, people in China, for however long they had it. Right, Russia and France. Suddenly this is great unity, not just like Jews, but everyone's kind of been impacted by it. It's very rare you have an event that really affects everyone since the war. Right, that everyone has felt this amazing, like, in not a good
And I'll
way.
give you a good example.
At the
The
same time.
vaccine.
At the same time.
The vaccine that's created by Pfizer. The CEO of Pfizer is a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, he
And
is?
The people who came up with the technology are Germans.
Oh wow, I like
So,
that.
Isn't that?
You give me that, write that down, Jessica. Give me a great topic.
Yeah.
CEO of Pfizer is a Holocaust survivor.
And the people
Who made it a German.
Who made the technology that was possible to make the vaccine are Germans.
Wow. And look at the Arab nations making peace with Israel this year as well. I mean, come on. This is olam hafuch. I don't know what the heck's going on. But one thing I know is something's going on.
Yes.
I tell you, for me, can I have something crazy, by the way? First of all, it's made us aware of how good life was. We take things for granted.
Absolutely.
I was sick of, I do a lot of weddings, Baruch Hashem. Please go by all of you. All right?
That's Hashem.
Miss Hashem. I've done weddings for the price of my house. I do weddings now. I did a wedding in a castle, and we had to do it, strangely, in a tent outside the castle. Which, whatever, it just makes no sense. There was actually more, I'm being very serious. There was more air inside the castle than outside. But the couple who got married at this castle were the nicest couple, and they were willing to give up this massive wedding, right, for like 20, 30 people. You know what I'm saying? There's a perspective here. We were overdoing it. I'm just saying, I have 1,000 things to say. But that stood out to me. That stood out to me. Right? Suddenly everyone had to like crunch down like, what's really going on? Like, what's my importance over here?
Suddenly there's a great equalizer. Doesn't matter how
Suddenly,
rich you are.
nicely put, there's a great equalizer.
You have the most wealthiest of people who died and the poorest of people who died.
And
The
everyone
greatest rabbis and
and
the
you know,
greatest
and
Rishonim.
no one knows why. It's true. And look at it. I know people are thin. I know people are fat. I know people are healthy. I know old people are. I know young people. We all know people like that in every age group and it's just like was so random. So random. Friends, I have to go. I have a 9 o'clock class that I'm going to give it probably online. But it's wonderful. I really, really enjoyed being here live. My first live class in such a long time. Thanks for coming out. And God willing, I hope to be back as well as B'ezras Hashem for more discussions. But thank you all for your. That was good. I feel good. Thank you just for that. Dayenu. Have a great, successful, and blessed week.
Amen.